Yep.
And I don't see Kathy.
She's coming. At some point, I think.
Hold down the power button on the bottom. It's one place right here. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we need a microphone.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Here you go. I don't know if we need a microphone.
I do.
Do you?
I
Okay, because that's catching on the stream.
I know, but my voice
Testing,
is
1, 2,
fine.
3. Hey,
Check.
thank you. I want to thank everyone for joining us. We are going to get started here. We're going to be doing a little bit of a casual discussion between Michaela, who is the, let me read this here. Michaela is the chairwoman, Michaela Hanson, and CEO Ben Edel. We're going to have a discussion with them, but I want to go over some quick rules. I don't think I'm going to have any problems with any of you guys. I don't know. That lady over there, you look a little rowdy. I don't know. I'll keep an eye on you. I'll let you know. And, yeah, I don't think we need to get tickets. Yeah, no, we're just so, we're going to be doing questions and answers. We may get, we were going to have it scheduled at 7:30. We'll probably have it at 6:30. But before we get started, I have to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And Todd, you want to come here and do the Pledge of Allegiance for us?
Sure. You want me to do it up here?
Yes, sir. Come on right up here.
Here, Doc.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just want to remind everyone, we are live streaming this on the Rob Taylor Report. You can always catch the Rob Taylor Report on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, or on X, which is known as Twitter. And all you have to do for any of those platforms is just type in Rob Taylor Report, and my channel will come up, and this posting should be there. It's going out live right now. And so we're going to start the fireside chat. So I'm going to introduce CEO Ben Edel and Chairwoman Michaela Hanson. You two want to start this?
Let's go.
Yeah, you got
Okay,
some questions.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. They did give me, they did ask me to bring some questions. And this is the nice thing about this is I don't know everything about the situation here. So we're going to do a lot of learning together because I'm from Bandon and I haven't been following this as closely as I'd like to. But I do know Michaela and Ben, and I do know the board. I think they're very qualified people, and I'm thrilled to see what's been happening with what they've been doing. Well, let's see if I can find those questions. Yes, questions. Sure. Q&A. Okay. All right. Celebrating the new budget savings. UPTD recently announced a new budget that cuts $500,000. It's $500,000 for those of us in powers in spending each year. Enough to buy a new bus annually. That's a big win for Douglas County. Can you tell us, Michaela and Ben, how you made this happen and how it could improve bus routes and services like Dial a Ride for our community?
Well, yeah. So, I want to say it's really important that we don't have an approved budget yet, but we're looking at it. Our CFO is here, Sherry Blue, and she has done an amazing job with the finances. And we have teams of people who are looking at this from the operations side. I look at it. We all are checking it out, and we found probably $500,000 in waste that we can cut out of the next biennial budget. Right, and that's a big deal. That's enough to buy a new bus every year, or a pre-owned bus that's much better condition than what we have right now. But we can essentially modernize our fleet compared to what we have. We spend about $300,000 a year on maintenance and repairs, about $30,000 a month on fuel. So by looking at our routes, looking at which buses we're putting on which routes, we can actually cut up to $500,000 every biennium. So this is a huge opportunity for us. I think it'd be interesting, Michaela, to talk about, because Michaela has been here on the board for the longest. You have the most institutional knowledge on our team from the leadership standpoint, and you know some of the history here. You've been a part of that, so everybody knows that there was a crisis of summer 2024 with the district. That crisis is gone, and that crisis is over. At least the one that we had in the summer. And Michaela was a part of the board and part of this leadership before that, during that, and now after that. So what happened? What happened with the district?
I think that's a really good question. This is something that wasn't captured, I don't believe, adequately in the local news. So it was sort of presented as a very catastrophic thing that was impending all of a sudden, that it all of a sudden happened. And the truth is it didn't all of a sudden happen. It was a slowly progressing problem that ended up coming to a head in about August of last year. But what was one of the biggest drivers was, well, some of the regulations that were put into place to make us all electric, some of this Green New Deal stuff that was happening. And what ended up happening is the district was trying to be in compliance with that and was using their budget to purchase things like electric charging stations. And one of the big problems that you may have heard of is that ODOT had reimbursed UPTD for a purchase of electric charging stations. And then about 9 months after that purchase, had requested us to reimburse them back, to pay them back for a reimbursement that they had already given UPTD.
That's the $252,000.
So what we were facing in August of 2024 is actually something that should have been addressed almost a year prior to that. And that really probably should have been addressed before there was any reimbursement that came from ODOT. The claim is that the charging stations required what's called a NEPA. So that basically this environmental study was required before the purchase of these charging stations. That's not really that clear in the contract that was a requirement. And so that is something that UPTD disputes, is that actually we are saying we did purchase these, we followed the rules, we purchased them appropriately. ODOT feels differently about that and have requested that we pay back about $250,000. We are still in sort of negotiations with ODOT. The situation hasn't been completely resolved, but the nice thing is ODOT understands that maybe there weren't, right things done on both sides. And so they are still providing funding. We're getting our funding every quarter. We actually moved from having to get money a little bit earlier every month to now we are back to quarterly reimbursements, which is a really good sign financially for us that we're able to do that. And so our immediate financial crisis has passed. We do have the money to continue to provide services for the district. And that happened very shortly after we hired Ben Edel as our CEO. We believe that was a very good decision for the district. He comes not with transportation knowledge, but he comes with the knowledge of how to run a business and how to deal with finances. And so some of the compliance issues that ended up being resolved and the financial issues that ended up being resolved were a direct result of his hire, because he sort of lifted the red tape from the rest of the district employees and allowed them to do their job. And we have some really great district employees that solved this problem for us.
100% correct. One of the things too that you missed a little bit was the fact that at the time that ODOT decided that it was going to demand that $250,000 or withhold funding, that was the insolvency event, that we were actually facing about 2.5 weeks of a deadline when I was hired.
Mhm.
Also happening and occurring at that time was that we had, at the time, I think it was like 70 compliance violations that could be condensed down to about 43. And those compliance violations had been in place for 3.5 years. The district had been under audit by ODOT and the federal government for 3.5 years without exiting the audit because they were never compliant. The district could not get compliant. So as an organizational leader, I come into an organization and I don't do much. I even said at the very beginning, I'm not going to fix this. The people here are going to fix it. I'm not the one who's going to fix it. And I'm not the one who did fix it. Our leadership fixed it, and every employee at UPD fixed it. They did. They have 100% responsibility for the success that's occurred to this date. I've been here 6 months. And we are no longer under audit. We have exited the audit. We are 100% compliant. We have our funding. We are operating under budget. We've also, as we're building a new budget, we're looking at how we can make minor adjustments to efficiency without reducing service in any meaningful way. And we're able to make those changes across the board, little bits at a time, across our profit and loss sheet. And we can potentially save the district and save the taxpayers up to $500,000 every single biennial budget. Okay, that's huge. Okay, that's huge. That allows us to expand the district and expand services as the population in Roseburg and the surrounding area without expanding on the problems. Okay, because when we took this, it was when I got started. I'll speak to myself. It was a disaster. Culturally, it was a disaster. The employees themselves, the executive team. They didn't have the power, the responsibility, or the liberty to fix the problem they already knew how to fix. And so the district itself was unable to overcome, it couldn't self-correct. You have to have an organization that can self-correct. And what we see in our state government, we see a lot up and down the West Coast and the federal government, we see all across our government, everywhere we look, is agencies or organizations, companies, if you want to call them, whatever they are, they're all the same thing. They can't self-correct. And so they just keep asking for more and more and more money. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing with all that money is they're making the problems get bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you're a business owner, if you run a company, which I have 25 years experience doing, if I don't solve my problems and become efficient, become lean and mean at the very foundation, then if I take money and I take investment and I expand on what I have, then I'm expanding the problems. That's why you see companies that raise a lot of money and then next year they're out of business. Happens all the time. Happens all the time. They get 10, 20, 30, 50, $100 million loans and then they're out of business. Or they go public and then they're out of business because they got good ideas, they have a good purpose, but they're just expanding the problems to the point where it can no longer be solved. And fortunately for this community, we were able to come in under a lot of heat, under a lot of pressure, a 2.5-week deadline. A new CEO shows up. I mean, imagine that. It's crazy, right? And the very first thing that I did was I untied everybody's hands and then held them accountable. That's it. We hold them accountable. That's it. You know how to do your job, so you're going to do it. And I'll tell you, one of the things I love about this is that every employee at the district loves this country, loves this community, and loves what they do. They love what they do. And so we're hoping to create an agency here that creates opportunity, that gets people not just from A to B, but also A to B in their lives through the district, whether it's through driving a bus, through becoming a marketing coordinator, going from an accountant to a CFO. How can we lift everybody up? And that's what we need, and that's what we're trying to do right now. So I don't know. I'm blessed to be here. I'm totally blessed. And we got a good team.
Yeah, we have a great team. I think one of the things that I want to just go back and explain a little bit further, because we've had a lot of questions about how did you get to 2.5 weeks to insolvency and then have a new CEO? Why did that happen? And I think it's really important that the community understands that when this financial crisis first came on the horizon, when the board first became aware that there could be a problem and the board didn't know the extent of it yet. It actually took quite a few months. But we had several board members, actually most of our board, end up resigning. It took about 6 months, and we had 5 resignations out of the 7 board members. And I want to say something really quickly because I think it's important. I'm not putting any blame on the prior board. They came into this knowledge at the same time that I came into this knowledge. And you know, they're very hardworking, wonderful people. But what the community needs to understand is that these positions, as a director on the board of directors, these are volunteer positions. They take an exceptional amount of time. You are not compensated for them at all. In fact, you're scrutinized in the newspaper for volunteering in these positions. And to make a choice as a board member that, you know, this is not a mess that I have the time to dedicate to is a totally reasonable decision. And the people who decided to do something else, to take a break from this board, you know, did so because they could not commit the time. And that's a perfectly reasonable decision. But the people who did step up and fill those positions and helped to get the district stable again, and who had to attend board meeting after board meeting to figure this out and give all of their time, I think it's very important to recognize those 5 people who stepped up into that position, who did not ask to be in it at all, but who were actually asked to come and you know, be part of their community and support their community. And so I really just want to recognize those people who joined our board. Those are the sitting board members in your guys' pamphlets. If you have them, you can take a look. Doug Mendenhall and Michaela Hammerson, that's me. We were on the board previously, but everybody else is a brand new board member, and they joined in the middle of this financial crisis, and they really deserve kudos for doing that.
100%. Yeah, 100%. This was a very intense time.
Mm-hmm.
The district had gone through, due to the fact that the people who had various responsibilities in the district they had their hands tied. And even people like the whistleblowers that were inside the district, and they would go to the previous general manager and you know, try to raise the alarm, but there was misunderstandings, and there was you know, bad decisions that were made that were really of no fault to you know, the executive team at the time, and that ended up costing the district almost $1 million in prudent reserves. And so you know, we're really right now just focusing on, you know, we put the fire out, okay? You know, everyone's running from the fire. Again, no, don't blame me if I'm running from a fire. Okay?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but so she was talking about insolvency, right? It's now solved. We're
100% solved. Yeah.
on the black side, right?
Yeah, we're really at no risk at all whatsoever of losing any funding, except it's the funding from the state, because the state executive branch will not follow Trump's executive orders around DEI and a few other issues. However, this board, while we're on that, did pass the very first resolution of any government agency in the state of Oregon to eliminate DEI and follow Trump's executive orders. And we're doing that because we believe in it as a board. I think the board believes in it. I'm hired by the board. I'm the only employee that the board can hire and fire in the district. And so I feel very much a part of it, although I'm subordinate to the board. But I believe as well that the DEI is a terrible, divisive, and un-American, and it makes us all weak, not strong. And so I love the fact that this board had the balls to do this and be the first agency in the state of Oregon. So of course we've got some guns aimed at us for it around the state, the OTA and a few of other groups that control special districts are coming after us and coming after our district, going after us personally. But we stand by what we did, and we believe in it, and we hope that shows the rest of the country, because we're not just using Oregonians' tax dollars here in Roseburg for our transit. We're using
Right.
federal tax dollars. Most of it is federal, okay? So it's Americans across the country paying our way down. And we take that really, really seriously. So, yeah, I mean, I think that we've done some wonderful things. The issue with the chargers, for example, it's still there. We haven't paid the chargers back. You know, and that was the big thing. You're out of compliance, and you owe us $250,000, or we're going to pull funding. But we haven't paid it back, and we're trying to figure it out. You know, I got a meeting tomorrow with the director of ODOT and the director of transit, and I'm looking forward to that meeting because we're going to be discussing the chargers. Right now, guess what? Nobody wants to buy the charger. Nowhere in the world. Those are out of style all of a sudden, and I know you all know why. But what we're trying to do is resolve it because we look at ODOT not as our like our what would be the word, like our ODOT doesn't command us. We're an independent district, right? But we want to have a good partnership with ODOT, and we've built a great relationship with ODOT. And the very first thing we did as a company, as an agency, to get the respect of ODOT was we got compliant. We got compliant fast. Okay, they were blown away. I was getting calls from people way out, all the way at the top of ODOT transit management. The executive director of the entire transit operation in the whole state called us up and said, "I cannot believe what y'all just did. I just cannot believe it."
We got to give a shout out.
Yeah, you have to.
That was Sherry, mostly.
Sherry, Megan, put your hand up. Come on, Sherry, please stand up. We got right. Thank you.
Yes.
Sherry, look, you can send her an email if you want to. You can talk to her on the program. Our executive team contact is there. We cut the executive team down. We got it a little too top heavy. We got that cut down. But Sherry literally carried it. You carried it for a long time, and you're still kind of carrying it. But that's the thing, right? Like that. We are a government that is by and for the people, right?
Just to recognize the board, let's see, is Doug here?
Nope.
No? Okay. Todd, raise your hand. You clean up really nice. That's a nice picture. Ray Kinley. All right, and Kathy Courier.
Do hers career.
Do hers career. Okay, I might just study that one. All right, I don't want to take you all for like McKenna was saying. We right now in my county, we've got the special district election going on as well, and it's so hard to find quality candidates who will run for office and take the arrows, the slings and arrows that are going to be shot at them, because the fact is there is no thanks for this job. It's no pay for this job. And no other reward, because everyone's going to criticize you no matter what you do. And so I'm not, and I thank you for being there to do this quite well. I got a question for you. You were talking about funding. There's a big debate in Salem about transportation funding. Some lawmakers want to cut transit budgets to avoid tax hikes, while others are pushing for a 20-cent gas tax and payroll tax increases that might focus on Portland projects. How is Umpqua Transportation District preparing for these changes? And what are you doing to make sure rural communities like ours get the transit funding we need? And also adding to that, not just the state, because it's the state figuring, talk about the feds as well. How do you plan to do that?
Well, I think that's a great question, and it is a big focus of our board. If you guys watched the recent board meetings, we've been talking about this a lot for quite a few months now. There was a transportation roadshow that was put together by the Oregon Transportation Association, the OTA, over the summer, and they were gathering feedback from people about what they would like to see for the future funding of transportation in Oregon. And essentially what we have going on is we have a proposal from to the legislature to increase your taxes quite a bit. They want our STIF funding to be even bigger than it was in 2017, I think is when the last package was passed. The problem is that if you guys have been paying attention to the news, there have been quite a few stories about money missing from ODOT from multiple projects that were started sort of, not even ground broken on these projects, and millions of dollars that's been spent
Billions.
without any ground being broken, without any results. And most of this stuff is happening in Portland. Well, the fact of the matter is that they haven't completed the projects they already received money for. They need more money to actually complete these projects. And most of the money that is being asked for in the legislature is going to Portland, into Portland projects, which means if you're here in rural Oregon, you are going to see no change to your transportation district because we're not going to get any more money, but you are going to pay 20 cents more per gallon every single time you go to the gas station, and your payroll taxes are going to increase. And that's just that's just the tip of the iceberg. There is more that's being added into this package. And so for us, for the people who vote for us and put us on this board, we know the challenges that rural Oregonians face. And we do not have the funding ourselves personally to be able to afford these tax increases without any more support for our community. And for that reason, it's very difficult to support the proposed transportation package that's going to be coming out in the legislature. So there is something that's happening, and I'm sure you want to weigh in on this too, but on Tuesday next week, there is going to be a transportation committee hearing in Salem. It is at 5 o'clock, and the community can register to testify. And you're encouraged to provide your testimony and to tell Salem what that means to you, what you need that money for, and how you will be impacted if your taxes increase. And I think it would be really great to see people register to testify either online or actually make the trip to Salem. That's the most impactful way to reach your legislators. So, yeah.
100%. Yeah, you guys are here today because you're participating in the government, and that's what it takes. And we're here today because we're participating in the government, right? It's up for by the people. Okay, that's why we're here. We went to Salem along with the OTA because they were, had their event, and we're registered as lobbyists, so there's nothing wrong about what we did going in there. But we told every legislator that we met with not to vote to increase the taxes, to not pass the bill. Right? Because we can all look at our district. We've got 80,000 people here in Roseburg, something like that. Maybe less than that, 70 something. And we're spending $6-7 million every 2 years on transit services. You're spending it, right? And we can look at that, within the first 6 months, and we can start seeing where we can actually cut $500,000 every 2 years out of the budget. If we upgrade our buses and our fleets to getting better, more modern, even 5-year-old vehicles, okay, are going to cost us far, far less. We're spending $300,000 a year, $600,000 a budget on average on repairs because our buses are old. They need to be driven off a cliff. Of course, nobody in it, just push it off. Okay. Yeah, something maybe. Yeah, but even Kathy's going to get me going here. We're going to bring you guys up in a minute. But if by doing that, you're actually saving the taxpayers' dollars by pushing some of these things off the cliff. Okay. And we need to start looking at that. And we're up against a very large behemoth who doesn't think like that. They don't think like we think. They think that's your money. Here's your broken buses. They don't understand spending $300,000, which is about the cost of a brand new bus. $300,000. That's what it costs. That's what we spend every single year just repairing the old buses that we have. So let's cut some money. Let's bring it back. Let's be efficient, and let's start buying a new bus every year, right? And without their permission, without their support, we don't need to raise another penny in taxes. Not one penny. You don't need to check your miles and put the transponders on your vehicles and look at your biannual registrations and figure out how many miles you've driven and charge you for that. I think Oregonians are taxed enough. We're way past that point. So what we really need is we need a government that operates a lot more like Doge and a lot less like what we currently have. Somewhere in the middle is where we're at. And that's the culture that we now are building at this transit district, in this town, in this state. And that's all we can do, right? That's all we can do. And so, you know, I'm proud to be a part of it. I think we should bring the board members up, unless you have something else.
No, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I'm thinking about is, maybe you introduce your fellows on the board, and I'm gonna grab chairs and bring them out here so that we're all just together.
You don't want the table?
You want the table?
I do.
Okay, boss wants the table. You want me to go ahead and do the introductions? All right, fair enough. We'll be on the Taylor Hammerson right there with him. And, we also have, Mr. Todd Vaughn. I don't know where I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'll stay up here. I'll go here at the end. Yeah. Nope, leave him there. Leave him there. And then we have Greg Kinnerly. Captain, you heard it there. My personal favorite. I just have to say. Yeah, this is tricky. And let's be careful. And what I want to do, where's the mirror? Mirror left. I'll tell you what. Let's do this. I can just come down here. How about that? I'll come up here later. Well,
Yeah, you want to move that out?
yeah, of course I do. I got my chair. I'm told. What I'm thinking about is, do you guys have questions for the board members?
I think some of our drivers.
A couple drivers over there.
Yeah. 100%. I'm happy to come out here and, hold on, bring the mic to you.
I got here. Scared them away. I guess I did. I only like a chance for them to.
I don't know if we did.
There was one right here.
Even it out a little bit, so Todd's not all by himself. How about
There
that?
was one right here. No, that's the one I put that was on the table. There was already one right here.
Yeah, I got that one.
Okay, cool.
So go ahead and switch that one on.
And we have this, too. For the other one.
And I actually have brain.
Yeah, so do I. I keep this thing far away. Boom, look at that. You want me to clip this on?
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right, hold on. These are slick.
These are slick.
Yeah, I like it. All right. I'm gonna do a crowd surf.
Can we ask any questions?
You know what? Why not? I'll hold mic though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how many people actually use the service.
Yeah, well, state your name because this actually is a quorum meeting. So go ahead and state your name.
Andrew Coker.
Okay. And you want to know how many people use the service?
How many people use the service?
That's a great
I'm
question.
so glad you asked that. I'm so glad that Sherry provided me with that number. So we are projected to serve 106,000 rides through our fixed route program this year. And for our demand response, those rides are about 20,000. So 126,000 rides in Douglas County. It's a lot. Yeah. Great question.
What else we got? Do you have a question? You're a driver. You have a statement?
I'm just.
How about you, sir? Good? Okay, well,
So Ben, I wanted to tell our drivers and tell people here, I'm actually a working man. So I am not a career person, I'm a logger, I'm a timber cutter, and I'm actually a truck driver. I have my commercial driver's license, I drive a dump truck at times for a living. So I just want our drivers, we got a couple drivers here that I talked to a little bit earlier. I just want you guys to know, as a driver myself, I'm in the same zone as our employees that are driving for Umpqua Transit. So any of you guys' concerns are my concerns because I am a working person just like you guys are. And always living on the edge. I've lived on the edge, hand to mouth, great part of my life. So we have been going through a lot of changes. It's new to me, but I just want you to know that there are people on this board that actually are very much paying attention to what our workforce is dealing with as far as their income, as far as cost of living adjustments, and everything that all of us need in these times of inflation. Don't think that we're not thinking about you. I want you to know there are people on this board, we're thinking about you and we're talking about it. And it's not going to all just be talking. There will be things coming in the near future that are going to help you guys with these jobs. We appreciate you guys. I know who makes companies run. I'm one of the guys who've been making companies run all my life. You know, I'm a working man. So we're going to take care of some business. I know that everybody is always telling the workforce to be patient. And I know that gets old after a while because I have been on the receiving end of that same message many, many times. But all I can say is when this organization begins to become more healthy, and we're going to take care of you guys. We're not going to forget the drivers. Believe me, I won't let that happen.
He won't.
I'm not made that way. Just so you guys know, I want you guys to know that.
And the thing that was hard is when we took over, it was unbelievable. I mean, UPTD was ready to have to close the doors completely. We were in real serious straits. And so the thing that's hard is there's so many things that need addressing that you have to address keeping the doors open first, you know, because then if we don't, then everything's for naught. So, but I am with Todd on some of the things that I've learned, like with safety and all of that. We are all very much concerned. We realize we are only as good as our drivers as well.
right.
You are our face. And so please, like Todd said, know that we all have a heart for you. We just have also been trying to stamp out the fires that have been going as well. So I know it does sound, like Todd said, like good words. I am not a politician. I'm doing this because I have a heart, especially for the older people who have a hard time getting around. And I hope that you do trust what you hear, because we are going to make things better.
Thank you, Kathy. I agree. I have to say too that, there are several reasons why the people up here believe in public transportation. And I think that if you have watched any of the board meetings, you probably see kind of a consistent theme. The board members are mostly pretty conservative, and some of our actions have shown that. But you may think that, well, how does that go in alignment with public transportation and feeling that is important? And Ben has provided his testimony about growing up, and that's how he got around in Portland. I think, for me, I'll share just something personal really quickly. I was involved in a motor vehicle accident about 8 months ago, and it prevented me from being able to drive myself anywhere. I was 100% reliant on other people to take me anywhere I needed to go. And I know that we've had other people who have expressed similar things that have happened to them in the past. Some of our people who attend board meetings on a regular basis, but that ability for the community to provide transportation for people who otherwise don't have a safety net, don't have another option, is so vital, is so important. And our goal is to do everything we can to create a healthy district where people are no longer being impacted by food deserts, where they're able to make it to their doctor's appointments, where when something unexpected happens, like an accident, an injury, they're able to still get around and have a quality of life, to get their kids places if they need to, for the elderly and for our veterans, making sure that we're taking care of them. So the people on this board really have a heart for that, and I just think it's important that the community knows that.
Yeah, I have one of the reasons that I believe in the transit, I live in Tiller, so I don't live in town. And I don't ride the buses because, I
Yeah,
live
you
in
can hold
Tiller,
on just
Oregon.
one
If you guys know where Tiller is, it's way out in the mountains.
Yeah.
And, but I'm still interested in this. My wife and I own we built a vacation rental beside our house in Tiller. And my daughter, she has one also. We have, the house we live in and then 2 vacation rentals. The one that we built, my wife and I built with my daughter that we own with her. I built it a 100% handicap house. It's on VRBO. You can check it out. And we have people come up in wheelchairs all the time. When we built the house, people asked me why I wanted to do it that way. I actually consulted with a guy in a wheelchair, and he helped me design the house. So it's got a roll-in shower. It's got a drop sink in the kitchen. It's set up where a person in a wheelchair can cook safely. It's got all pocket doors. I mean, this house is laid out for a person in a wheelchair. The bathroom has the showers are rolling showers. Got a toilet and the laundry room all in one. Where if they soil themselves, because some of these people are paraplegics and stuff, they can't control their bowel movements and stuff. And this guy in the wheelchair told me you need to set it up where they can go into one room and change and shower and wash their clothes and do everything, because it's embarrassing. This guy was, he had this issue. And so I actually built this house. I want you to know that even though I don't use the transit system, I'm very concerned about people in wheelchairs. I come from the Vietnam War era. I worked with people that were badly injured in Vietnam. I've been around Vietnam vets all my life. And so to me, the elderly people in our community and the people that are injured in a way where they can't drive or they can't get around, to me, it's very important. Everybody on the board is here for reasons other than what reasons would you have to be here? To have some sort of political control? No. We're all on the board here because we believe in the transit system, and we believe that there's a group of people that really need this. And we wanted to help make that happen because we actually believe that that Roseburg may be losing that. So I just wanted you guys to know that there's a lot more to all of us than what meets the eye, but there's a reason why we're here. Because we're like Ben said, we're not getting paid. There's the only reason for me to be here is to make sure that people that need this service still have it. So I just wanted you to know that.
So we got a question, unless, do you want to speak to that? Kind of maybe the reason why you're on the board, what's driving you, what's motivating you?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So one of the concerns that seemed to be was safety,
Then I'm gonna go to you, sir.
like the safety of the drivers and the public. And so I'm in law enforcement. With that, there's some things that we're going to work on. One is like verbal judo, which is a great way of training to be able to deal with people and everything until we can get there. Another thing that we've already taken action is the Greyhound used to drop off at the Rite Aid. That's no longer happening. Okay. So we go around and you've got one of your drops is right in front of our PD. They're off Stevens. I've noticed that that's cleaned up quite a bit, probably why, because we got the police station right there. And Rite Aid we contact people all the time. Because this state has legalized hard drugs, we have all these people coming in that are unsavory. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And it's a real problem. And it affects the people that are trying to use transportation. We've seen that all over through the town and everything, which ends up affecting you folks. So we are trying to put some safety measures into play to help you be able to do that. Communicate to us if something is going down that we can get there, law enforcement can get there. We know exactly where you're at. That's huge. So those are things that we're going to work on. Is that correct with the drivers we have here? Is that kind of is that an issue? One of the many, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sir, what's your question?
Just because it's weird, like it.
Oh, okay.
If it-
I have to look at people when they talk.
Yeah, go ahead. Here, I'll move for you.
Okay, I'm pretty good with that.
Okay, hold on to it, guys.
Promise I won't hurt.
Don't aim it toward that thing.
And I've been in Roseburg for a while. I've had friends drive the bus. I've had friends ride the bus. I've had clients ride the bus when I worked in the county. I worked in South County. And I feel like I know the county a little bit just because of who I know. And you guys walked into a buzzsaw.
Mhm.
You guys really did. You know, I'm one of those old parts that reads the paper every day. You know, and I read other stuff. And I get noisy on social media sometimes. And some of you know me. But anyway,
What's your name again?
Clay.
Oh yeah, you got to state your name. This is a public
Clay.
meeting.
Yeah,
Shoot.
Clay. Clay Tillman.
Oh, Clay, how you doing?
Yeah,
What was the handle?
Clay.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
We know Clay.
yeah, and I'm known for being noisy, and I hope for the right reasons. And I would try, so that background for why I wanted to ask this question. I just heard some stuff I've not heard with you guys describing what the financial state, I knew the financial state, I followed that, and then information disappeared.
Yeah.
And I've got my own opinion about our local paper and the particular way of presenting news, having been interviewed a few times. And I need to go back and discuss that with them.
Remember the feeling?
Okay, so we got small town politics, you got big time politics, you got all the mess going on. And to hear that this is going to be solvent and able to upgrade, and I have no doubt Todd is going to hold the sheet to the fire to take better care of the drivers. I have no doubt.
Yep.
I've known his career long enough, I've followed him long enough through friends.
Mhm.
And how are you going to get that word out to everybody? I mean, I'm going to grab that leg and I'm going to get noisy. And, you know, I'm going to go after Ed and all the other guys who are fighting transportation. And I just want to lay out to you how you're going to roll this thing out and try to be able to communicate effectively and get the word out that this is what we're doing. And when you know, you say, this is a problem, this is what we're going, this is how we're going to solve it. You walked into a real buzzsaw.
I love buzzsaws.
You got lightning out of your head. I don't know. But,
I aim it at lightning.
so, you know, so with all that buzzsaw going on, there's a lot of politics and the officer that says, thank you so much for doing on this thing. Because you know the problem better than I do. And you know, I mean, all this stuff. Okay. So how do you guys get it out? How do we help get the word to the right places?
Can I answer that first?
I was actually going to direct you.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's good. I appreciate it. It's a good question.
Let me go on.
Oh man, you're welcome. I mean, we have the rules in case there's 100 people here, but there's not, so we're good. Well, this is an interesting scenario. So you're right. It was a buzzsaw. Okay, and we put out press release after press release to the local news here. I even went to I got friends at Willamette Week that are the political, you know, they write all the political stories for Willamette Week. Nothing. Not one local news agency wanted to actually tell the story of what actually happened here at this district. Not one.
And you being here for not even here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here and there.
But you've been here for at least 3 years. People don't believe you're going to be here tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but it's a long time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to earn your chops.
And I'm not here forever. That's a known fact. And I'm also not working myself into a longer, you know, thing. I want to make sure that the district itself can self-correct. But to answer your question, the local news is not reporting any of the facts at all whatsoever. They reported false facts or correct facts, but spun it in a certain way at the very beginning to try to pin the issues and the problems on this board. But this board just literally showed up. They literally walked into the buzzsaw, and they did it for the reasons they're talking about right now. They did it because they care to save the district. And truth be told, that's the truth. It's also true that anyone running from a fire, you can't blame them. But you definitely got to take your hat off to those that run in and put the fire out. Okay, that's who we really need in this government right now today in this state. Okay, we need people who are willing to come in and face the flames, face the fire, and put it out. And that's the team right here. This is what we're looking at. And that's why I'm here. Because wherever there's fire in the state of Oregon, you're going to find me there fighting to put it out. Right? And let's rebuild. We got to rebuild this state. And we're going to rebuild the state on the local agencies all the way up. And we have to do it across the state. Okay, across the state. So, yeah, shame on the media. Shame on them.
If I may, a caveat.
Yeah, please.
You know, because I've heard the word carpetbagger. Have you heard that one?
Yeah.
Okay. You're gonna have to be able to show people, it's like, yeah, this is my permanent thing. I'm here to clean up the mess.
Yeah.
And then when you guys are set and squared, you know,
Yeah.
okay, I don't mean to offend.
No, you don't. It's very hard to. I work in politics. Defend me. I work in politics. Who else wants to go on that one?
I don't think I answered his question, which was how are you going to get the word out? And we have been getting the word out.
Yeah.
First of all, we have press releases that are on our website. And so if people want to know what the truth is, they can go directly to the source and they can get some of that story. We also have a wonderful marketing director that is helping us on social media. And we're going to build that presence. It does take time to do those things. And we have encountered some situations where some of the social media accounts were either abandoned or we were locked out of them and some other things. And so we're kind of starting from scratch on that. The goal is for us to do something so great that we're actually never in the news, that we're just the boring, reliable transportation district. And hopefully that's kind of what's happening now. Where we get to, and we don't need to get any more stories out. If we were doing this for glory, we were certainly misguided because we have been under attack pretty much the whole time that we've been trying to solve this problem. So it's not for credit. None of us are looking for credit. But if we do stay together as a board, we work very well together, and we can continue working on the successes of UPTD. So that is something that I'm looking forward to. I do hope that I will be able to continue to work with these fine people for my my final 2 years on the board. So thanks for your question and for coming, Clay.
Well, if I can be really honest, I'm a little upset.
Give him a mic.
But I had to come here tonight to hear this.
Yeah.
I'm just a little perturbed.
Don't you follow me on X?
No, I mean,
Because I'm telling it on X.
yeah, but I'm weird. Nobody goes on there. It's
Yeah.
not in the paper. It's not local.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I categorize my sources, and I know my community fairly well. And I can tell you that is not known in the general community.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a very.
I don't think I'm wrong.
It's by design. It's by design. That's why I keep saying, for the people. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. It's a big message tonight because either we're a government that's by, of, and for the people, or we're not, or there's two classes. There's a class system, and we're breaking and shattering that class system.
And if I may, almost that language in Roseburg will be polarizing.
What I just said?
Yeah.
You can't hear the microphone, I can't hear.
Oh yeah, of course.
No,
My apologies, and I get it, I'm halfway there. Because of small town politics, there's a lot of polarization around various issues. And some of the language that can be used, and I think you read some excellent is how do you get the message to the whole community? Because we're kind of divided. I mean, I've already seen it showing up in the paper, I've already seen it showing up in the book. And that's why I get it out to the community. Because if the paper doesn't do it, then they have a known bias, very clear about it. There's no question about where they're coming from. It's not going to show up. So, and I don't, I'm not trying to make anybody mad, but I'm bothered that I didn't hear this from local sources.
thanks for bearing.
Which part exactly, Clay, that you didn't hear? What part didn't you hear that you think needs to really be out there?
How bad it was and where it is now.
Yeah, we have problems with the paper, I get the news review. I read the news review. Some of you may know that I'm a writer. I'm an editorialist. I've been writing editorials in Douglas County for many, many years. And the Beacon is no longer a printed paper. That was where I was writing. So you don't see my writing anymore. I don't write for the News Review anymore because the News Review is politically biased, and they actually will use my editorials against me in ways that are very subtle. Okay, I'll just tell you that. They're good at it. These guys are good at it. The press becomes very wise about whoever they're politically backing. They can use their editing to not print articles that they don't want print articles that they think they can utilize with other articles. They're really catty. Let me tell you, I've been doing this for years, and these guys are experts at doing whatever they want with you when you begin to really talk and say things that certain people don't want you to be saying politically. So this happens. So we are, there are factions in this area, and whether this board continues to be a group of people that really do get along well and are about to solve the problems that we haven't even begun to deal with. Some of the problems we were talking about earlier with you guys, we haven't even begun because we've been working on other stuff. But these things, we're going to get to everything. We will get to everything. That's what's going to happen because this particular group of people believe in the truth. And so when we start hearing truth, we're going to get to it. If it's a problem, we may not have solved it yet, but that doesn't mean it's not on our radar. You just got to understand that. It takes a while to do these. And we're new. We're working together as a new group of people. But I will just say that there are some politics involved here. There always are. And I'm not going to go into details because this is supposed to be like a nonpartisan election. We're actually here to serve. Not as Republicans, although most of us are Republicans, certainly not as a faction of the Republican Party either, which is a problem. This is a problem. The Republican Party is divided in Douglas County, just like it is in the United, just like what Donald Trump's dealing with Republicans that aren't supporting him. I mean, this stuff's everywhere. It's everywhere. But the reality of it is, in this context, we are here to serve the public in a nonpartisan way.
And
But
I would also add, all of us are very driven against corruption
yep,
in the government. And we've seen a lot of corruption going on in our town and in our state and in our country. And we are very adamantly opposed. I don't care what party it is that's doing it. We do not like corruption, and we are going to do what we can to clean it up. And our agency has been smeared with, I think, political corruption, being told to buy things that we shouldn't have been advised to do. So we, like I said, that is a huge factor, and I know it drives all of this.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we are actually in the same zone as what you see happening in Washington, D.C. with Donald Trump's administration.
Mm-hmm.
We really are. I mean, that's why we basically got recalled in the Republican Party, because we actually are those Republicans. We are MAGA. This group is a group of MAGA Republicans. We believe in what Trump is doing. We believe that the country is in serious trouble. And just like UPTD was in serious trouble, we believe America not only was, but still is in serious trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's an attack on this country. And we are active in politics and in this public service arena because we actually believe that there's some really bad stuff happening and we want to help be the solution. That's actually why all of us on this board are on this board.
Patriots.
You can believe that or not, but what I will say is the old saying is always true, and that is the proof is in the pudding. So when you got to give us a little time, but when the pudding is finished, you can say, you didn't do what you said. You're not who you said you are, because we will show you. You just got to give us some time. This thing was in bad shape. You got to give Donald Trump some time. America was in bad shape.
Mm-hmm. Sir, you got a question? State your name and then go ahead.
I'm
and
sorry.
I want about your passage. I don't read the newspaper. I don't watch TV. I don't want to listen to any of the local radio stations. How do I get information?
So there are, I believe our press releases are being shared in the buses. Is that correct, Ben?
Well, what we're doing right now is we're getting the information into the buses. And I mean, you can use the QR codes right now that are on the banners, and you can go right to our website. We actually are revamping our website right now in the process of that to open up communications, so that people can actually sign up their emails for, you're welcome over here. So that people can sign up with their email addresses and get news releases directly from the district.
What about this tonight? I found it because somebody else posted it on Facebook.
Mhm.
I didn't find it anywhere else. So why wasn't this on every meeting? Anything you do should be public.
Yeah,
It has to be somewhere
we-
else other than just your website.
this meeting tonight was sent out to every single major news outlet, every TV, local TV station, every newspaper, every radio station.
I don't have any of those. That's what I'm saying. You need to go somewhere else. You either have to have Facebook, Nextdoor, X, something else.
Yeah.
You need to get your information out to everybody. And just doing it where you're doing it is not enough.
Yeah, we put it on X, we put it on Facebook, we put it everywhere. But the problem is that the district only has like 20 followers on Facebook. We have 118 or something like that on X. We sent it out to the media to do public service announcements, but that didn't really get out to people. So yeah, we wanted more people here. We want engagement. We want to create this engagement. I don't know when the last time the UPTD had a public town hall.
Well, I was just gonna say to you, this is stuff, Jim, I appreciate why you're frustrated.
Yeah.
Because it is very frustrating.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that we're actively talking about. How do we reach more people?
Mhm.
We are trying to answer that. And so I appreciate what you are saying, and what your input is, because it's helpful, that we have to think outside the box. And I think we have some good ideas that will be doing that. It is really frustrating. My parents are at home right now, really needing me there, because my mom fell. And, I appreciate every single person that's here, because you guys are great. It's frustrating. I was hoping I'd come here and not be able to find a place to park, So I 100% appreciate what you're saying.
And this is ongoing. This has been several years. I've brought it up several times in earlier meetings. I've been following UpTD for 3 years.
Yeah.
I was on the board for a while. I'm on the budget committee right now.
Yep.
So I'm not totally ignorant about what's going on.
Mhm.
But this is something I have addressed before, and nothing has ever done.
Yeah, well, we're going to be changing that. I mean, I think in the first 6 months here, we've put the fires out. We're solvent. We're in compliance. We're not at risk of losing any funding we're contracted to receive. And now this is kind of our first step in saying, hey, let's get out to the public, and we're gonna be at the fairs. We're gonna start going to fairs. We're already walking in a fair booth right now for the Douglas County Fair. And we're working on building our social media and getting people to know. So if you go find us, you can click here and you can find us on our website, but go right to Facebook, right to X. And that it's a problem too, because when we have like service interruptions, like with weather, or whatever might occur, we can't really get it out to people. So we are going to be creating an in-bus marketing system as a channel, and that is in development right now, right? And so that'll help get word out to people to know to follow us. But we are actually being blanketed by the media. When this fiasco began, or at least for me, it was already in the works. The media had no problem. We were on the front page every Sunday, right? And now it's crickets. And so I think that tells you almost everything you need to know about the situation that we have in Southern Oregon. It's really quite alarming. But we are absolutely committed to bringing more public engagement, and creating more public engagement and creating more transparency, because that's what this is all about. It's about transparency. That's what we demand. We demand it in our elections. We demand it in every single government agency across the state, across the West Coast, across the country. And so we're going to start doing and being what we want to see in government. If you read the program, probably never seen a government agency write like that or say those things. So I think that you're going to see over the next 6 months really that outreach into the community. So keep us. I'm glad. Thank you for being on the budget committee.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And
Camera on that
I
issue.
just want to say too, we're also looking at like farmers markets, so not just doing the Douglas County Fair one time, but like actually being out in the community on a regular basis to do more of that outreach. That is going to probably require more volunteer hours from the board, which we'll figure it out somehow, we'll do it. But then also I think it's a great opportunity for some of the UPTD staff to get out and maybe do something different on a day. So we're definitely going to have them out at the fair with us, and we'd like to see some of these farmers markets and things like the community events like that, so we can really be forward facing. Luckily, we do have the services of our CEO Ben Edel, who happens to be amazing at designing things as well, and so we have these stands, and we have access to a lot of the talent that he has in being able to give us things that are more front facing in the community. So that's another part of it. And I see there's a question up there.
Okay, you said think outside the box. We first need to think inside the box and get the information out. Our drivers don't know anything. And that's shame on Ben. You said shame on the media, shame on you. You're not distributing information within your own organization. We know nothing. And that goes to you. So get the information to your drivers. We can put it out to our riders. We've had these flyers up for this meeting on our bus, and I think I only had one person ask for them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great call out. Our drivers are the people who are out in our community, and they're the faces of UPTD because no one comes to the building. I mean, let's be honest. The only time that people in the community are really seeing what's going on with the district is when they see a bus drive by, when they get on that bus and they say hi to a driver. That's where that interaction is happening. So absolutely, we want our drivers to be involved in that. And if there are suggestions, if there are things that you guys are seeing as drivers that we don't necessarily know, we do rely on that, that information coming up to the board. So, always feel free to join the board meetings, to submit the information to, your supervisor, to Andre, to Sherry, to Ben, however you need to get it to us. And
it goes nowhere.
Well, I appreciate you continuing to try, because as we've said, multiple times throughout
When
this
Ben first
tonight.
came in, we all gave our suggestions to him.
Yeah.
I think it was you that came in and wanted to create that spreadsheet. We gave all our information to you. We've given it to Cheryl before. We've given it to, I don't know who all.
It wasn't me that wanted information for a spreadsheet, but I will say that, we have, unfortunately, we were facing a budgetary crisis that meant that the doors were going to be closed. So the first thing you do, if you're broken and bleeding, you stop the bleeding first. And so we have, luckily, and not just luckily, through a lot of hard work, we have gotten the district into a place where we can continue to employ people, we can continue to provide services for the community. And now that phase is over and we are back in compliance, and ODOT is not having constant check-ins with the leadership, because behind the scenes this is probably what the drivers have not seen, and what maybe some of the staff of UPTD has not seen, but the hours and hours that have gone into facing these compliance issues and getting things in order so that we even have the opportunity to address some of these other things, like being out in the community and addressing events and being part of that. We haven't even had the opportunity to get there yet. So we appreciate your patience 100%. We want to continue to hear your ideas. This is not any way of, trying to shut you guys down or to make excuses. It's not about an excuse. It's that there is a certain number of hours in the day. There's a certain amount of work that needs to be done. And we prioritized our time and our energy and our effort into making sure that the district still exists. And that's sort of where we are right now.
Yeah, and I want to, and I can absolutely address you, and I appreciate you for coming here and speaking up about it. Number one, it's challenging. I'm going to make an excuse, and I'm going to tell you some of the things that we've done. Number one, it's very challenging to get communication out to drivers as the CEO of the district because drivers don't have emails that are district related, and because any communication that I make has to be on public record, it's a challenge. One of the solutions we could have to get immediate communication to every driver is to give every driver in the district a UPTD email address so that we can have official government communications. Right, we could post that. I'm going to get to that. She just said, just in case you couldn't hear, she just said that we have a driver's room. But 4 weeks ago, we did not have a driver's room. Okay. Well, I wouldn't call it a room. What we actually did is we're changing how we've just gone through a process where we're just beginning to start to address the issue that you're speaking about. And part of that is creating a driver's room, which we did on the main floor. It used to be where we had a supervisor would have their office. What we did is we eliminated the supervisory positions, just got rid of them. And then what we did. Yeah, well, we eliminated the supervisor position and we did a lot of changing of pieces. We did a lot of changing a lot of things, but we eliminated that position and we also cleared up that office at the main floor next to the yard where we parked all the fleet. And we put a round table in there and we created a driver's room. You just said it, it's a driver's room, we created it. By creating that driver's room, we actually are creating an area where you can get a board. We put up 2 big boards with communication. Now, I'm going to look into the communications that you feel like you're missing, and I'm going to find out how we can get that to you directly and what channels and how we actually do that if we don't do it with emails, at least directly from me. But we are in the process. Whoa. We're in the process of actually implementing that situation. What's that? Oh yeah, that's true. It's weird. Trade me, thank you. But you have something else you want to say? Go ahead, let's go.
Okay. So the communication issue.
Yeah.
I've had more than one driver tell me they texted you and you don't respond.
Ladies and gentlemen, a driver texted me and I never responded. I have 5,062 unread text messages. 5,000. I'll show you. Come here. So the proper channel here. See that? 5,071 unread. If you want to get a hold of me, and I want you to, don't text me. It's the worst way to get a hold of me. The best thing you can do is probably send an email to my UPTD address if you want to talk directly. But one of the things we did is we created lanes, and we implemented lanes to build and improve the culture at the district so that people stay in their lanes. I hired a guy named George Creo, and George Creo is the chief of operations. And the proper channels to get something that you need at UPTD is to move through that lane and talk to George. And my job as a CEO is to work on the outside of the company, which is what I'm doing for the most part. And I've created a system or modified a system where the leadership in the inside of the company can handle the things on the inside. So it's really critical to go that route if you have some. Otherwise, you can just send me an email or talk to me or whatever.
Okay, that's the thing on Doris. Where's Doris? How many times has Doris been in that building?
I'm gonna actually just maybe pause this conversation. We're getting into some employment questions that actually are about, this is a public meeting. So it's perfectly acceptable to talk high level about things, but to actually call out a person individually that's employed with the district is sort of inappropriate for this conversation. Just like we wouldn't allow somebody to ask a question about you by name in the audience and have that streamed across the internet. We don't want to do that to any employee of the district. So, I mean, we're happy to recognize people positively, but if you have a challenge or you have a concern, raising that to your supervisor would be the proper way to do that. We certainly do not want to embarrass anybody or, you know, have their personal employment information being streamed on the internet. So I do appreciate your question, but that might be more appropriate to address with your supervisor.
Okay. I was in the military for 20 years. The military teaches perception is reality. And the perception from the drivers is not good. Let's just leave it at that.
Thank you so much.
When you were in the military, how easy was it for you to just communicate with the general?
It was, we had our proper tuning in, our tuning in, and accessible.
Thank you. Sir, you have a question?
Yeah. Kind of off the other subject, but the community that you're trying to serve that is not recognizing that you're doing these kind of meetings won't be here because they don't ride the bus. We don't do enough community services for the community for people who either can't get to an event or it's so packed that they need a bus to get to that event. Whether it be the fair. Do we take people to the fair?
Well, I'm really glad that you asked that question because well, let me answer that one really quickly.
Yeah,
and then
I'll
you
stay
keep
with you. I'll
going.
stay.
But we did actually discuss kind of high level if we could help, if we could assist with fair transportation. Because I agree with you, I recognize the same thing, and the fair is so busy. It would be so wonderful for UPT to be part of that. Unfortunately, the way that our funding works is that we would then be providing shuttle services that require additional layers of oversight. And we have been warned by ODOT, even though it's in our hearts to help in that way. And we would love to be able to just change routes up and hire an extra bus for the day or whatever, that we can't just make those decisions and those changes on the fly. We actually have to go through the proper channels in order to have the authorization to do that, which sounds ridiculous. I know government regulations are ridiculous, but we wish that we could do that. And maybe in the future, when we are, more stable, we have more buses, we have more disposable income, when we have money that is not regulated by the government, that we can actually generate ourselves, perhaps through the advertising program that's being developed right now. Those are things that we might have more authority to do in the future.
Okay, hold on.
First student does
By
provide.
the way, I know first student does, but we go to the fair. We have a bus, 2 buses that stop at the exit on both sides, Monday through Friday. But we don't advertise that we can take people to the fair. And also, during the whole summer, UCC has a pool open. Kids get up there for $1, they can spend all day at it. We don't advertise, we can take you up there and bring you back.
Yeah, I agree with you. But
Some of the stuff that the community actually does, we don't participate in telling people we can take you there.
Yeah.
The Saturday market. We don't tell people,
We would
hey,
like
get on
to
the
be at
bus,
the
we take
Saturday
you on
market.
Saturday market, and then we can take you home.
Yep, absolutely. And we're hoping that we can get some of that information out more by doing these farmers markets, by doing the fair. We haven't had a presence, and that's something that this board is discussing and taking on right now, is how do we get ourselves out in the community and how do we solve that problem? Like I already said previously, we had bigger fish to fry, for the last 6 months. And that's what we were working on, stabilizing the district. But now that we're moving into our ability to be able to start looking further out, these are absolutely great things that are on the radar. I love the suggestion about the UCC pool. That's what I did when I was a kid. My mom took me to the community college pool, and that was a great time. And I think it's getting it out there that kids ride for free. That's a really important thing. That's something that we're planning to advertise at these booths when we have them. And the other nice thing is when we get this advertising program off the ground and we start wrapping these buses and we have advertisements on the outside of our buses, we will be able to get that information out there. Ben, I don't know if you want to talk maybe just a little bit about the advertising program, because we do have some partnership in the works. It's not official yet.
Yeah. No, it'd be great. So that's a great comment, and it's a great idea. And the reality is that as an agency, the district doesn't have any real partnerships with the community. It's very isolated. It's been very isolated for a number of years. And thank you, sir. See you later. And have a good night. And so really most partnerships, like right now, we have a partnership that we're developing with UCC. And it's been in the works for a couple months now. And with that partnership with UCC, we can put up information at the pool in UCC that you can take up back and forth all summer long on Saturdays. One of the things that government agencies usually utilize to get information out to the public is the news media. But the news media is not talking to us. Well, I'm just telling you, sir, that's how it works, right? You find out about stuff in the paper. We don't. Right, but sir, please listen, please, okay? We have strict regulatory laws on how we can spend the money and where. When we get money from the federal government and the state, they put all the restrictions on it. We can't even buy a sign or a bus stop without having it have a lane that we can spend it on federally or state. We can't just take the tax dollars that we get, the $6 million, and say, well, we're going to go put out an ad or get a billboard. We have to have our own funding that we source outside of the federal government or outside of the state in order to do that. So literally when the chairwoman said, our hands are tied. That's why government agencies rely on the media to get this information out to the public. It's the job of the media to get information out to the public. That's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. We don't have that funding. So I'm going to segue. Sorry to be a little bit tough here, but you got to understand how it works. What Michaela is bringing up is that we're building out a new advertising program, and we're looking at all of our buses and all of our advertising inventory that we have. We even have slots on the top of buses that we can sell advertising to. We have shelters and benches and stops that we can sell advertising. We can sell advertising on entire buses, on the back, on the sides, okay? By creating this advertising program, I believe, and estimate that we could bring in $100,000 a year in new revenue to the district, okay? At least $100,000 a year to new revenue to the district that we can spend any way we want. And so if we had $100,000 a year, we could actually send out a mailer, right? We could send a mailer out to everybody who would be targeted for riding the bus and then to take up to the fair, right? But we can't do that right now because we aren't allowed to spend the money on that. We don't have any money to spend on anything that actually does more than get people from A to B and then manage regulatory functions at the district. We spend a lot of money, and this is government regulation. We spend a lot of money on administration just to be compliant. So the way government works is that you get money from this source and money from this source, and then you have to be compliant with where you spend that money. Then you get audited, and government agencies have this circular audit system where it's audit, and it's frankly out of control. We spend more money on administrative job positions to just respond and serve other government agencies, not you. And that's the broken part of our system. So your anger and frustration, sir, is shared, really shared. Sorry about the F word. Are we streaming that? It's shared, man. I share it with you. And that's where we get frustrated. That's where the frustration really kicks in. We're like, ooh, we can't do this. We can't get the word out. We can't increase our ridership because we can't advertise until we have a program. Now we got to build a program, sell it, turn that money back over, and communicate with the citizens. It's not a for-profit industry or agency. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to be able to get discretionary funds which the district just doesn't really have.
And I want to also highlight that the way that UPTD is different than some other transit agencies throughout the state is that when the district was created, the district agreed to not be a tax district, meaning that we do not receive any local taxes, which could be discretionary funds. So we are 100% reliant on the state and federal government, which unfortunately has tied our hands in a lot of ways, because what our community wants from us, they are not paying into the system, unfortunately. All of the money is coming from the federal and state government, and then those regulations are sort of required. So that's a difficulty that we deal with, unfortunately. There are ways around that, including the advertising program that Ben's talking about. The other thing is receiving donations from the community. So we do have some, fairly large organizations in the area that could potentially, provide some of that bridge and support for us if they have a heart for that. And that is something that we would like to explore in the future, so that we do have those discretionary funds. Those donations can also be used for our match money. So when we receive our grants, usually the grants require us to come up with a certain amount of money. That's what they call our match. And so when we receive donations, any sort of in-kind donation from the community, we can actually put that towards our match when we're building out our grant program. So it is really important that we get some more community involvement, that we get some more organizations possibly wanting to give, or maybe individuals wanting to give. And we're trying to solve those problems. They're not going to be solved right away, but we are working on it.
And can I also say, I understand why you're frustrated. This has been a very dysfunctional organization for quite a while. And when Ben came on and got kind of a new executive team, they have literally spent hours and hours just trying to get this compliance stuff. That's basically all they could do for the last 6 months. So it's frustrating because we're saying things are going to change, and then 6 months of the same old dysfunction. We are determined to become a functional family here. And so I appreciate you guys telling us what is bothering you, because it is very irritating. I can see why you're really irritated. And I do appreciate using the sources, and you have to be getting the word out to your directors, so that we can be getting the information too. But we have even our last meeting we have talked about communication and all of that too. And we definitely want more, better lines of that. So like I said, all of this is like, yeah. But a dysfunctional family doesn't get better overnight either, At least we have some people that realize it's dysfunctional. So.
And on my way over here, one of the issues we had, the drivers didn't have radios like crazy. They couldn't radio. Like, there was an emergency situation on the bus, they couldn't just radio. And it was insane.
That's not only crazy, that's dangerous.
It's dangerous, right? It puts everybody at risk, even the riders, right? So even under the pressure of the compliance issues and the financial issues that we were working on to which were all hands on deck. Okay. These are huge jobs. Okay. And we also, just the first thing we did after we saw light is we got those radios fixed, and we figured out actually what the problem was. Cause it was even like, before it was like, well, they just don't work because you have to hook them up to the buses. And what we actually found out was we called the CEO of the company who owns the rate that does the radios. And it turns out they turned our switch off because it was interfering with first responders. So our signals were interfering with the first responder signals. And you know what they did? We told them, we said, we're going to make this very public. We threatened them. And we said, we're going to make this very public, that you guys took advantage of our district, took advantage of our taxpayers, and took advantage of our drivers and everybody else unless you fix it. You know what they did? A few weeks later, they came back, they gave us brand new systems that have their own signals that don't interfere with the first responders across Southern Oregon, and we got them fixed. That was huge. That was a huge thing. And it's like better communication and improving the conditions for drivers, improving the funding, how much you make, right? Like if we can pull through the next biennium and we can actually get to that $500,000 mark that we're goaling at to try to save, then we're going to be giving cost of living wages across the board, because the drivers don't make enough money, and the benefits are phenomenal, right? The benefits are absolutely over the top. They're like, we have to have Oregon state executive branch benefits, but it's not enough money there. So we got to improve people's quality of life. So when I look at priority around what I can do as a CEO, because I can't do everything. Like I can't be a supervisor and a CEO, right? And so I can't. We changed the supervisorial positions because our supervisors. This is coming from me and coming from our executive team, from Sherry, from George. Our supervisors have to support our drivers, not put them in positions to fail or put them in positions to feel hurt or not be heard. Our supervisor's job are to serve the drivers, right? Solve the problems and make sure that drivers and advocate for the drivers. And I did not see that happening since day one. And that's why we made that change and we brought in new people, because I want to make sure that our drivers have someone they can talk to. We had a situation with a driver where he left the bus. He left the bus, he locked the bus, secured the bus, and walked away from the bus and walked back to the district, took his keys and said, I'm done. And 3 days later, I had that driver in my office. And I said, bro, you got to tell me what happened. And he told me what happened. He told me what was going on in his life. He told me what was, I'm not saying names or anything like that. But I'm going to tell you this, okay?
Turn off the mic.
Turn off the mic.
Turn off the mic.
Not yet. No, I thank you. Good job. I saw your motion in my rear view vision. But I'm going to say that that's one of the catalysts that got us to move quickly on that change, because I want to make sure that every driver is supported. That's what I can do as CEO. I can make sure of it. I can make sure that it happens. So we're working on it. And we care about you.
I was wondering now, so is ODOT the primary provider of money? And how much money is made from what drivers or passengers pay to ride the bus? And where does that money go? Mm-hmm. And then the second question is, how many drivers do you have, and why do we only have 2 here?
Mm-hmm. Woo.
Okay, first of all, we lose money every time somebody takes the bus. So, that's the truth. We don't make any money on fares, and it's by design. It's that way because this is a public service, and it's taxpayer funded because it is to help the underserved, people who cannot get anywhere otherwise. And so we don't make any money on the rides. It helps, I guess, minimally, and probably Sherry could talk, more clearly about this. But the unfortunate part is running UPTD completely like a business is impossible. The business model is that we would just always lose money and we would be insolvent more quickly. ODOT is the overseer of our funds. So all of the money that comes in from the state and federal government is really funneled through ODOT, and that has made us appear at times to be mini ODOT. That's what I say anyway. And it's actually not true. We are our own separate agency. ODOT is their own separate agency, but they do have a lot of control over whether or not we get the funding that we apply for, and they oversee that funding that we apply for. there is potentially a possibility for us to apply for direct funding through the federal government and circumvent some of that oversight. But we are definitely not at that point yet. It would be unconventional. But that's something that we have sort of prepared for with the resolution that we passed as a board a couple months ago, which was to become compliant with the Trump executive orders in the event that money is cut off to the state of Oregon for being non-compliant. There would then potentially be the possibility of UPTD going directly to the federal government and saying, we're in compliance. Can we get our money, please? So that's sort of the thought process there. But yeah, ODOT definitely, they have the purse strings. So great question.
And their job in that compliance loop, that's ODOT collects the money from the federal agencies, and then ODOT's responsible to ensure our compliance as the check receiver, right? And so we're not beholden to ODOT. Like they're in charge of us. We're beholden to ODOT as far as where the money goes and remaining compliant with federal regulation and state regulation. So
Compliant with the federal government as far as DEA.
They're not.
that's a great question, because they're not.
So they funding.
Yeah.
Give her a mic so people can
It gets
hear.
cut off to us. She's saying, is ODOT compliant with the federal regulations? No. And that's a great question. And she also says, just for the record, that if ODOT isn't compliant with federal regulations, then is ODOT's funding going to be cut? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. That's why they're trying to pass the transportation package. They're going to tax you, right? They're going to tax you because they don't want to take the money from the feds, because they're going to hold on to that hill of DEI and lack of transparency and inequality and Title IX, okay, violations, the state's violating Title IX. And so they're going to continue to do that, and it's going to put all of us at risk. But what we can do today is we can hold on to it. We can stand up for what's right. Right? That's the political positions here on our board. Stand up for what's right. And we can be in a position to preserve the transportation services that are incredibly needed. And I got a story. So I grew up in Portland, and I relied on TriMet. And I relied on TriMet to get to basketball practice, school, all that stuff. And so I care about public transit. I think public transit is very, very important. I think public education is very, very important. I think there's some public things that we should all pull our money and spend on that lifts people up, that builds economy and creates, and it should be done in the right way, kind of like it used to. And so on all those fronts.
I was going to say, this is a perfect segue into maybe final thoughts from the board. We don't want to keep you guys here all night, and we'd be happy to talk to you one-on-one after. But I'm going to start with Todd really quickly. Final thoughts.
More drivers wanted to come, but they were not allowed to come because we don't have any drivers. And others, like me, I thought this afternoon, I can hang around Roseburg for 5 hours. Or 4 hours. And a lot of them couldn't do that. I was real free. So I can't just go home and then come back.
I would say this, ma'am. I listen to everybody. I'm listening to you guys. I've been listening to everything you said tonight. It's all going in here. I'm not good with numbers. I can't tell you what the budget numbers are we're dealing with on the budget committee, but I can tell you when people talk to me, I listen to them, and everybody on the board's that way. Okay, so we're hearing everything. We're not missing anything. But here's what I got to say. I'm a working man. I told you that earlier. So I've worked on loading dock crews. I'm big crew on big loading docks. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona, worked on big loading docks, been around cruise, man, and all my life worked on drilling rigs. I've worked on all kinds of crews, construction crews, tree planting crews, large crews of people, just like your crew of drivers you guys are dealing with. I've been there. I've been on teams, and we grew teams. We did it as workers. We actually grew teams. I've been on logging crews. We grew our own team out in the brush and we got logs, okay? We figured it out amongst ourselves. And, but I can tell you this, it takes a while to grow a team. Like the reason why we're on this board together is because we've teamed up on a couple other projects. And the reason why I came back onto this board is because I know these people and I know their integrity. And I know that I can work with them as a team and we can actually do things. What we really need to do is we need to move UPTD into a unique form of government reality that includes advertising and stuff that Ben was talking about. We need to have discretionary money, which means we need to kind of become like a hybrid. We're going to be mostly government. We're going to rely mostly on government money, but we need to have a source of funding that makes us operate a little bit more like a private business. We'll never be a private business. You guys as drivers are never going to be working for a private business if you work for UPTD. It's not the same thing. I've worked for private businesses all my life, for-profit businesses, and it's a different ballgame, believe me. And just to be involved in something government like this is very difficult for me because I've been in the private sector. If you didn't pull your weight, make money. And the reason we put together teams of people all my life in the private sector, because that's how we made more money. We produced because we worked together. Now we gotta work with you guys. You're our drivers, and we will work with you. And we are a team. This is a team right here. We're a team. Our board is a team. We don't argue. If you guys put different people into this board that are divisive, we'll even get less done the way you feel like we're getting done. You feel like we're not getting enough done, it'll be less because that board, that team will not function. Okay. And I've been on non-functional teams of people. They're not a team. They're a bunch of individuals with their own concerns and everybody's angry all the time. And it doesn't work. When you get a bunch of people that get along and that love each other and are actually working towards a goal and they're working on all levels of an operation. And I've seen it. I've been in operations where the upper management and the workers, like you guys are, actually did work as part of a large team. We can do this. But if you break this team up, I guarantee it's going to be a lot harder to put together a team that you guys can actually work with. So my advice to the voters is keep this team together. Let us work with you guys to form a complete unit from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. The communication that you had with us tonight, I know it's kind of hard. That's the way it is with teams. You're going to fight a little bit when you're part of a team. We will get there. You guys just, I think the best thing that UPTD can do is keep this group together as a team, and we are going to begin to create the larger team throughout the organization. I know we can do that. So.
Thank you, Todd. I want to thank the drivers too that missed this meeting so that they can provide a very important service to our community.
How many drivers have overall? That was one of the questions.
How many drivers are there overall, Sharon? 22, 23, if you count
the van.
if you count the van and fixed route, just for the record. Thank you for that reminder. But we do appreciate the drivers that are, working and unable to attend this event. Perhaps if people are wanting to rotate and be able to attend board meetings or things like that, maybe something can be done internally to make sure people have the opportunity to attend these. But we certainly appreciate them. The whole reason why we're here is because those drivers are out picking people up and providing those rides, and that's the absolute most important thing. Just as a final thought from me, I came into this position, I decided to run for a special district position. I had never been involved in any sort of government service ever. And 2 years ago, I decided to run for this position. And I did that because it occurred to me that that my responsibility, my civic duty had not been fulfilled to this country. I had 5 years ago, I had very little knowledge of how our government works. I had never served on any sort of board. I had, done some volunteer work, like volunteering at the school to help kids learn how to read because my kids are in school, but nothing where I had an official position. And I felt called to do that. I have learned so much being on this board and being part of this community in a different way than I've ever done before. And I'll probably continue to do something like this for the rest of my life because it's a bug that's bitten me. And I do feel called to continue to help the community as long as, the community will have me. And so I'm very inspired by the drivers and by the people who pour their hearts and souls into this district. Sherry is amazing. I am so thankful that I've gotten to know her. She mostly has single-handedly saved this district. So I just really appreciate her a lot. And those are my final thoughts. Thanks.
Yeah, and I kind of echo the same thing. Dealing with the federal government and government agency is beyond frustrating. I feel the same. It's like with Todd. I was in the private sector for most of my life, for 25 years, and had military contracts when I was in Hawaii. I basically went my first one at the lieutenant colonel at the time. I said, "It's government operations to spend as much money as possible and be as efficient as possible." And he's like, "Yeah, pretty much." And that's basically that was 25 years ago. So, and it just got worse and worse, like Ben and everybody else in here. And it's more red tape, it's more compliances, it's more and more and more. And it's done on purpose, so you can't get where the taxpayers' money needs to be going to be efficient. Because it's not possible to just keep going down the same road. And then hopefully we can get control of it and turn it around. So I feel your frustrations, trust me.
Yeah, we're not bureaucrats.
Yeah.
It goes against everything I stand for. I hate government waste. I hate red tape. And so we are, what I appreciate about our group, we're not afraid to stand up to the bureaucrats either. We are not just taking their word, we have to do it this way because that's how it's done in transportation. No, we're going to do it the most efficient way that we can. That is also compliant. And if we want to do it differently than what ODOT tells us to do, we're going to do it differently than what ODOT tells us to do. And if we have to come up with resources on our own, that's what we're going to do too. Because we want this to be the shining light for public transportation, not only in the state of Oregon, but in the whole United States. We'd love to have this be the example of how a good transportation district can run. So I also appreciate these people. They're wonderful people. And I want to do a shout out to Amira too, because if you guys have gotten any kind of a picture, Ben is quite, you have to ride him with a tough bit, I guess. But Amira is really good at helping keep Ben focused. And Ben is very talented. And we are really lucky to have him, but we also are lucky to have Amira. And we thank her for her organizational skills and all of that. And we have just scratched the surface with her. And like everybody has said, Sherry, basically, if you want a visual image of Sherry, she's standing there with our whole district on her shoulders and she's carrying it. She has done a phenomenal job. We have a really wonderful team.
Yep.
And I appreciate the people who are here too, because we need people like you guys too. Thank you. Is that it?
All right.
Thank you for coming. And I just want to echo one thing really quick, is that the people here that are doing the work, that are carrying it, that are making it happen, are the people of this community. And it's the community serving itself. And the success that we've had at this district is 100% to your credit. And I'm super proud of them.
And people like Jim who shows up to every board meeting, you
Yep.
know, and who has served. He's incredible.
Yep. So thank you. Everyone, you want to adjourn?
Yep.
Oh, and thank you, Rob Taylor.
Thank you,
I couldn't
Rob.
see you behind, sneaking over there behind the American flag.
Yeah, it's okay. I want to thank everyone who came and showed up. We do appreciate it, and I know this board, even though we may have disagreements, they may have disagreements with you, they are listening, and I can assure you that, down the road, hopefully they can address many, many more of these concerns of yours. I know they will. And I want to thank all of you for doing what you're doing. Like I said, it's a thankless job, and I'm thanking you now. Thank you tonight. Rob Taylor report, if you want to see this meeting, X, which is formerly Twitter. You can give me on Rumble, Facebook, and on YouTube. Rob Taylor report. And thank you all very much. See you next time.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for driving for us.
Yes, thank you so much.
That was very nice of you to come out here.
Rob, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Dude, appreciate that a lot.
Let me get this before you guys start saying too much.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
We're still live streaming.
There you go.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I was worried when Ben walked out the door. I was like, oh no. So there you have it. I hope you all enjoyed today's show.
Absolutely. Thank
And
you.
very interesting stuff from the taxing district here in Umpqua, the Umpqua Transportation Taxing District. Public transit, interesting prospect, and I think they're doing a hell of a job. Thank you very much, and you all have a good time. And until the next time, carry on, Cruz County. Carry on.